Shri Purushottam Dham ki jai, Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Ji ki jai, Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shena Shingadev ki jai, Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, all the assembled devotees ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Bol.
Jai Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardan Maharaj ki jai.
Jai. What is your name? Yeah. Huh?
Neera.
Nira. Okay. You sing very nicely.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I should have stopped early when you came in.
Oh, no problem. So, anyway, back to, I'm happy to be back here in London. We were in Ireland for the last 4 or 5 days, I guess. We went to visit with Subhasini at her place, and then we went to Limerick. And then from there we came back from the Shannon airport. So it was really nice. Ireland's very beautiful. It was very wonderful to be there. I hope to go, but I didn't get to see Glasgow. I would like to see that, and then maybe in the future also we'll go to maybe Limerick and then up the west coast of Ireland. So, and I'm still hoping to be back here in August, although I don't exactly know when, because at the end of July we have the Govinda Mela in Soquel, California, and then going down to Tikul, Mexico with Ashram Maharaj, and that's for his summer campamento, his summer camp, and after that, Jai. How are you, Ananta Govinda?
Happy to see you.
Good to see you too. So many devotees came from Bournemouth, and you, Nara, you came back here also.
From Bath.
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 Yeah, we all need a good bath. So, and Nitai and Karuna Sundari, she's in the kitchen, I think.
Maybe.
Yeah, I saw her. So, we all hope to get the shelter of the Param Vaishnavas, and that'll be our hope for the future. We were in India, as I told you last week, and we went there for the purpose of so much confusion in India, and annoying confusion too. So anyway, we went there, and as I said, the devotee said, when are you going to do something about India? And I said, like what? I thought you guys were supposed to arrange that. And they said, well, we couldn't for one reason or another. So then they asked, what about establishing, doing something? So we went there for Akshaya Tritiya, which is the 3rd of May, to establish Srila Bhakti Tilak Niriya Maharaj as Srila Acharya Maharaj's successor. And I've been with Niriya Maharaj before, but he is very, very wonderful, nice Vaishnava. So I was happy to be there, and in Tarakeshwar. This is the first time I was in Tarakeshwar. And I was supposed to be there in Uluberia for Srila Acharya Maharaj's divine disappearance, but somehow or other my plane left late from London, so I missed my connection, so I got to spend Srila Acharya Maharaj's, instead of being in Uluberia, I was in Doha Qatar for the day, but okay. And then the next day we all went to Tarakeshwar. And I was, as I said, I was thinking that I was going to be in there for sweltering heat in May, but it wasn't like that at all. It was lots, there was rain. In fact, when I went one day into Calcutta, it was a thunderstorm, and there were thunderstorms in Tarakeshwar, lots of breeze. It was very refreshing. Well, a few days when we were traveling, when we went to Ekachakra, then it was hot there, and went there to visit to and offer dandavats to Acharya Maharaj Divine Samadhi, because he passed away last May 10th actually, in the middle of the pandemic. It was still going on. Like he passed away from that. So, hadn't been to India in almost 2-3 years. So as soon as I got back there, I felt very, very happy just to be back in India, and then to go to Bengal, the place of Mahaprabhu, and Tarakeshwar. As I said, I hadn't been to Tarakeshwar, but was told that that's where Bhakti Vinod Thakur, received some transmission from Lord Shiva, who told him not to go to Vrindavan, to stay there in Bengal at find the birthplace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So all these places are divine. I mean, even Calcutta is very divine. And I can associate Calcutta with Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. I can associate it with Srila. I can associate with Srila Govinda Maharaj, who spent much time in Kolkata. Also Srila Prabhupada, who was in Kolkata and who was with Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj in Kolkata. And actually, Mahaprabhu visited the Kolkata. Maybe it wasn't called Kolkata. Maybe it was. Maybe it was. It wasn't called Calcutta, but maybe it was called Kolkata. So anyway, I feel blessed. I feel blessed to just be able to be there in Bengal, and that's what I was actually kind of dreaming about, going back to Bengal. That was my hope. I didn't know if I was going to make it because this whole pandemic, and I was thinking, am I ever going to be able to make it back to India? But then, all of a sudden it ended, didn't need a mask or anything, just walking around. Of course, then they hadn't had the arrival of dum-da-dum, the monkey, what is it?
Pox.
Monkey
pox.
Monkey pox. I've had chicken pox. I've had smallpox vaccine. So you enjoyed chicken pox, you enjoyed smallpox. Now enjoy monkey pox. But I'm not so worried about that. They said it's due to, I think, close contact. But I think I told a story about the man who, anyway, I'm not going to get into it. The man with the frog. So, anyway, now I can kind of circulate freely. Went to Mexico, was down there, visited to Monterey. Now just to be able to go to Ireland. I'd not been to Ireland before, and I was thinking, I've traveled all over Europe and everything, but never been to Ireland. that seemed to be something missing. So, I mean, all of you can go to Ireland very freely. You can walk on the plane and walk off, and I don't even think there's any control over that. So close, and all this green pasture, everywhere, green pasture and cows. It seems like a dairy, a dairy country. So divine in one sense, well, at least it reminds us. At least we think that Krishna, we don't have anything against vegans, but I doubt that Krishna was a vegan. I seriously doubt that. Somebody could say, oh, but those times were different. Okay, sure, admittedly. And Devashish went with me, so had some good association, traveling, and met with the devotees. I had promised Subhasini and we'd go there for a long time. So, returning to the topic of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we're always saying, Radha Krishna Mahiyanya, that actually Sri Dandi Maharaj, he compiled that book, Heart and Halo. He compiled that, and then I had the opportunity to edit the book. It was a beautiful book. It's very nice. And especially the last chapter is, all of the book is sublime, but the last chapter also very, very about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and his writings of the concluding words, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and gave us some vision of something I had before when I came to the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, where Guru Maharaj, Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he remarked about the relationship with Srila, with Sri Nityananda Prabhu, between Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and Sri Nityananda Prabhu, that relationship. And I felt also when I came to Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and there was Srila Govinda Maharaj, that now, or as Guru Maharaj commented, he said, some people are attracted to the worship of Radha and Krishna, and some people are attracted to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But if you deposit everything in your Navadip account, then mysteriously that will all be transferred to your Vrindavan account. So that's that kind of understanding you get from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. I heard also Acharya Maharaj, when he came to the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, Srila Govinda Maharaj asked that some people are attracted to Mahaprabhu, some people are attracted to Radha Krishna, and he asked, what is your attraction? And Srila Acharya Maharaj answered, I don't know anything but you, Gurudev. That's my focus. So all these are very good, you can say, perspectives on our divine vision and when I came to the Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat, I always felt that there was a definite focus on Mahaprabhu and his mercy of Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu. And actually when I taught, the first time I actually heard personally from Srila Guru Maharaj, he said, here in Navadip you will find the greatest investment, the greatest return on your investment. And it is known as Aparad Bhanjanpat, where all the offenses are forgiven. And that's a great encouragement for us. I always felt some trepidation to go to Vrindavan, to walk in Vrindavan. Because I heard Srila Guru Maharaj comment, if we understand that everything is of the nature, the very soil of Vrindavan, the very soil is of the nature of Chintamani, then rather with our feet we'll travel with our head, offering our dandavats. And I always felt like I am not qualified to be in Vrindavan. I always felt that way, a little bit like an intruder. I was there with Srila Govinda Maharaj one time, and Srila Govinda Maharaj said, now that I've come to Vrindavan, I will have to engage in some austerities. And I remembered one verse, Hari Bhakti Subhadaya, that I can't quote it, but I wrote it in one Vyas Puja offering to Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktivedanta Swami, and it says that these saints are those persons who purify the places of pilgrimage just by their presence. They take so many persons go to deposit their sins, to deposit their karma in the places of pilgrimage. Even, we can say, even Vrindavan, they go there. There's all kinds of transactions that are going on in Vrindavan. So when Srila Govinda Maharaj said, but the saints, they purify those places. And when Srila Govinda Maharaj said, now I've come to Vrindavan, I have to engage in some austerities, I said to him, Maharaj, you are the person who, in Govinda Maharaj's comment, I said, you're the person who purifies the holy places. And he said, oh, you're saying that because you are a disciple. And when he called me a disciple, I was very happy. I was very happy to be at home. Now I'm accepted as his disciple. That's very wonderful. I was a little worried about that. But he's accepting me. So then Guru Maharaj, when I came, and he was talking about Navadip, he said, here you'll get the greatest return on your investment. So deposit everything you have here in Navadip. So that is very encouraging. There you find whatever you have in your account, as little as it may be or as great as it may be, you'll get the greatest return on your investment. And it will be mysteriously transferred to your Vrindavan account. So you don't have to worry about that, I have to make some extraneous endeavor to worship Shri Shri Radha Krishna. Here we've had Gauranga Sundar on the altar, where now some years, when I came here, the devotees were talking, and I said, oh, how fortunate you are to be able to receive Gauranga Sundar in your temple. Who could ask for anything more than that? That would, the greatest source of happiness, to be able to receive Gauranga Sundar in your temple. And then Shri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nayan. Then also maybe in the future, Radha, Govinda, or whatever names they choose to have. It'll come also. Like when we had Gauranga Sundar in Sokel. I went to Navadip, and some deities had arrived there, and from the Murtiwala, and they came wrapped in newspaper or like that, and then Govinda Maharaj showed them, and they were very beautiful. And I don't know if it was facetiously or not, but I just said, oh, when are those deities going to Sokel? But they wound up going to Sokel. Then I asked, later I asked, when did you decide, Srila Govinda Maharaj, that those deities would go to Sokel? And he said, I didn't decide, you did. But that was, I was very happy with however it worked out. I don't want to impose my will on the divine servant or our spiritual master. But later he said that before we had the deity of Gauranga Sundar that's now in San Jose, that a deity, like so many of us, came from south of the border. From some devotees came up from Mexico, and they drove Gauranga Sundar across with them, so he didn't have to present papers or anything like that. Some of our devotees came up that way also, like Deva Priya, she came that way. So the deity of Gauranga Sundar came that way, and then he was worshipped in San Jose. But so many years we were in San Jose, and the deity was there behind. We had a picture of the deities in Navadip of Shishi Radha Govinda Sundar. Gauranga Sundar, Radha Govinda Sundar. We had that Mahaprabhu behind that picture, and Ramai would offer him incense and fruit every day, but we were in a rented house and we didn't have him installed. And then later, Govinda Maharaj came, and they had the inauguration ceremony, and he was placed on the altar of Sokel. And then later, when the bigger deities came, Govinda Maharaj said that original Gauranga Sundar, he said he called out to the bigger deities and said, I am here alone, please come. So then the deities came. So that can also happen. So anyway, but we're all praying that by the mercy of Gurudev, we may get the chance to inaugurate, install, however you want to say it, in our heart, their lordships. Because it says, Sarvasya cha hamriti sanivishto mata smritir jnanam apavanam cha vedais cha sarvaraham eva vedyo vedantagrit veda vedeva cha. That the Lord is in everyone's heart, and from the presence of the Lord we're getting remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And now I'm getting a nice dose of forgetfulness. Now I can specialize in forgetting things. People tell me their name. Oh, what is your name? I mean, it just doesn't stick. Even when I was traveling with David Sheets one time, I forgot his name, but So, coming from the Lord, knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So he's in everyone's heart. But unfortunately, with many people, their heart is such like a rubbish bin that they can't properly receive the deity, the Lord within their heart. He's in with everyone's heart, but you have to clean your heart in order to be able to properly receive the Lord. And there's that wonderful chapter in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the cleansing of the Gundicha Mandir. And in that chapter, it talks about removing all these, what's going on is that the devotees led by Mahaprabhu, they're all cleansing the Gundicha temple. Because the Ratha Yatra is going from the Jagannath Puri temple, which is Nilachala, and it's going to the Gundicha Mandir, which is called Sundarachala. And that is said to be Vrindavan. The deities are being, you could say that Jagannath Puri temple represents Dwarka. That is, it's Jagannath, Baladeva, and Subhadra. Mahaprabhu has the divine vision of Jagannath as Krishna and everything. But Subhadra was never in Vrindavan, as far as I know. She's never in Vrindavan. She was there in Dwarka. What is she? Is she the daughter of Balaram? Is it? No. She's a sister of Krishna. She's a sister of Krishna, right?
Yes.
But Balaram was taking care of her, right? And Arjuna came there, and there was a little bit of commotion. That is, Arjuna's very strong, broad-shouldered and everything. He's a Kshatriya. At least the way it's described in the Krishna book by Prabhupada, he comes there disguised as a sannyasi. Now, I don't know if he's a sannyasi, or we'll say he's a sannyasi, but maybe also as a sadhu or something. But Subhadra was serving him, and she is happy to serve this sadhu sannyasi Arjuna, and he's also happy to be served by Subhadra, and he's always glancing at her. So then he carries her off, and Balaram is very furious. He wants to kill Arjuna, but Krishna calms him down. So anyway, Balaram, Subhadra, she was in Dwarka. So Jagannath Puri temple is Nilachala, and it's like Dwarkadham. And then the deities are taken on this. I don't know how long the actual trek is going from Jagannath Puri to Gundicha. A couple times I was in the Ratha Yatra, but I don't think I made it all the way to Gundicha. But it was with the devotees. It's nice, very wonderful. They're hot and engaged in kirtan. And then some kind of, first they spray rose water with these, what do they call them? They spray droplets of rose water everywhere, very fragrant. But then some kind of fire truck or something akin to a fire truck came by and then just sprayed everybody down with a fire hose or something. It's kind of nice. It's to cool you off, so you get splashed. So I didn't make it all the way to Gundicha. That's one time. But that's the journey from going from the Dwarka temple. We're going from Dwarka, Nilachula, the representation of Dwarka, to Gundicha temple. But that Gundicha temple, as far as I can understand, it's not occupied during the whole year. It's occupied when the deities come from Jagannath Puri. So there's Mahaprabhu every year would make a great endeavor to cleanse the temple, to clean the temple. And first there's sweeping it a number of times. First they sweep it, and then they make a pile of sand and dust and straw, and then they sweep it again. And there's a competition between the devotees. And if somebody's not working to Mahaprabhu's satisfaction, he would say, "Oh, you've done very nicely. Teach everybody else. Please teach everyone else." So then the devotee would feel, maybe I feel a little ashamed. But then they'd have this competition. Then they're sprayed, they bring in, they call for water pots. I guess they're clay water buckets or water pots, big clay water pots, and they're throwing water on the walls and the ceiling and everything. And Mahaprabhu is cleansing the Singhasana with his tears and his own cloth. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati about this whole, it's for what basically is, what you could say, a cleansing of the temple, which is done during one day, but that's given so much importance. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur talks about how this compares to cleansing our own heart to be able to properly receive Radha and Krishna within our heart, to properly be able to receive them. And we have to cleanse our heart first. We can't just go by, the Lord's in everyone's heart. Well, that's nice. That's nice, but we'd hear about Srila Dvaitacharya, that if he bowed down before not a proper deity, and I imagine these deities have the form of the Lord or something like that, but if he bowed down before not a proper deity, that deity would crack. Well, it says like that. It must have been, very, what can you say, very strong. And all of a sudden, the deity would crack. So why we say the form of the Lord is, what does they say? Guna, Rupa, Nama, Guna, Lila, Rupa. These four things are all divine as the Lord himself, non-different from the Lord. Vinat Ram Nama Nami, the name. His form, his activities, or Lila, and name, his form, his activities, and pastimes. They're all non-different from the Lord. Then what would cause a deity to crack by Advaitacharya? Well, I would say it's not being properly worshipped. It's just some symbolic form. It's like an idol. Maybe it's the Lord's form, so I don't want to commit any offense, but still, not worship properly. And then if we have the Lord in our heart and we're not worshiping the Lord and not attentive to the Lord and his devotees, then who wants to worship, who wants to have the deity in such a in such a bad place as a dirty heart. And, but anyway, I'm not gonna try to so much engage. What do they say? Analysis is paralysis. So, I mean, I don't think anybody said that, but it's actually sounds like a nice saying. I think it was falsely attributed to Malcolm X or something. But we also believe that just somebody is just engaged in too much gyan, just going through the basis of intellect and gyan. Eventually he's going to go off the deep, he's going to go off to the side of the road sooner or later. It's going to happen if just too much attention to gyan. It's that verse, Anyabilashita shunyam gyana karmadi yanavritam anukuyena Krishna nushilanam bhakti rutama. Srila Rupa Goswami says that the real bhakti should be free from karma and gyan. And anukuyena Krishna nushilanam, being satisfying with the purpose of satisfying the Lord. That's real bhakti. So, someone could say, well, isn't there, everyone in Krishna consciousness are all ignorant? They have no knowledge? I remember when I was young, I always heard, Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojata Janayashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayada Haituki. That knowledge and detachment will naturally grow within the heart of the devotee. So you're going now? Okay, Dandavad. So naturally, knowledge and detachment will occur. Although we're told that, knowledge and renunciation are negative things. If they're done independent of bhakti, certainly they're negative. And we're not interested in Jnana Mishra Bhakti or Karma Mishra Bhakti. We're not interested in that. Rupa Goswami is condemning that. But at the same time, one gets some natural detachment from what is mundane. What is the term? What is the term? About the debt. What is it? It's another thing I'm forgetting. But the detachment that one develops within bhakti. What's the term?
Yukta Vairagya.
Yukta Vairagya. Yukta Vairagya. That detachment happens. That what is that? It's not detachment just for myself to be known. When I was traveling in South India, one time I was collecting there or something, and I was near Vishakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh, and I didn't have any place to stay, so I went to a dharamshala, and there was this nice person. He didn't wear any clothes. He just wore a gamsha, a long gamsha, about the kind of like not as long as a lungi, but a gamsha that hung from his breast down to his feet, and that's all he wore. And I knew his name because he had a nice, shiny lota that said, Ramdas Mahatyagi. But he was a really nice Ramdas. He was nice. But that was his name that was inscribed on his lota. And he saw it was a Kadasi, and it was he must have seen that by my eyes that I was hungry. So he said, do you want me to cook some sabudana khichdi for you? And I said, oh, sure, nice. And he made the most wonderful sabudana khichdi, cooked it. That was at Ramdas. Now, he was a professional Vairagi, but I'm not saying that, we're not interested in that kind of Vairagya. He's a nice person, but we're not interested in being Mahad Vairagi, and not interested in being a Jnani either. I've known so many Jnanis in our mission that got somehow or other infatuated with their own knowledge. And they saw that independently of Gurudev, and then they were gone. And I've seen many persons like that. So I don't. But Jnana Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojata Jana Yashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayada Haitu. But naturally, knowledge and detachment are going to develop in the heart of a devotee. I mean, when I came to Guru Maharaj, he also said, we're not interested in power or knowledge, meaning karma and gyan. We're not interested in that. But then I said to Srila Maharaj, but everybody knows you have so much knowledge, and you're known as having so much knowledge, and you're saying we're not interested in karma and gyan. But what is then? How am I to understand that? And then he said, knowledge is the minister. He smiled and said, knowledge is the minister who comes and prostrates himself before bhakti. He's the minister. Knowledge is the minister who comes to prostrate himself before bhakti. And so Guru Maharaj has so much knowledge, but it's all in relation, in terms of, in the service of the Lord. And that knowledge is always growing. And Guru Maharaj, what was he saying towards the end of his life? He's always saying, Dayal Nitai, Dayal Nitai, Dayal Nitai. I mean, Guru Maharaj could speak about the most wonderful Leela, the highest conceptions. Guru Maharaj could express that and it could happen within a split second. He'd be talking about one thing, and then all of a sudden he's talking about something supra-divine. I mean, one time he's just talking about some normal parlance or something like that, and then all of a sudden he's talking about the most wonderful realization, and it just like goes into that very, with just such a smooth transition. So he has that divine vision of the highest realm, the worship of Shri Shri Radha Govinda, but at the same time he's always saying, Dayal Nitai, Dayal Nitai, Dayal Nitai, that by the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu, we'll get everything. So in my lifetime, I've had the mercy of these acharyas, Guru Maharaj, Srila Govinda Maharaj. So many years I was with Srila Govinda Maharaj, like all of us, or so many of us, 25, 30 years. And with Srila Prabhupada also, I went to India. I was sent there. I was basically sent there from France. I joined with the devotees, and I went through to Germany, and then to Belgium and Spain and then back up to France. And I was in France and I basically was sent to India because I was of less importance to them there. I was a new man and so just so they sent me to India to be with Srila Prabhupada, and I got there with Srila Prabhupada. And I didn't leave there till I was forced to leave by the change of laws, but I was there 4 years with Prabhupada. And that for me was very wonderful. And so I had that opportunity to be with our acharyas. That was very nice. And I knew Tridandi Maharaj. I met Tridandi Maharaj, I think the first time I met you was in memory. In memory, where we were collecting potatoes. And you came there. And you were a renowned author. You had written, what was searching, something about
Seeking the Essence.
Seeking the Essence. But
I think I remember almost the first day when you came to the Mutt, or very early on, I was pinning up laundry on the roof. Do you remember that?
what's that?
I was pinning laundry on the line, on the roof of the guest house, Prachak Bhavan, Navadvip. And then you came through the door. I'd never seen you before. I knew a little bit from being in ISKCON, and you were asking me all questions like, I think you just come, saying, why do people here have beard? They don't shave their head, and asking me these questions.
I asked that?
Yeah. And
It must have been really new.
yeah, really, because, and I said, oh, Maharaj, generally they just shave on the Purnim, like telling me things like that. So, oh yeah, you're sort of getting genned up, for the future. Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
So was that before memory? I don't know.
It sounds like it was, because I think you,
Okay.
all around that time anyway, very
Oh.
around that, yeah.
And we
And
went-
later on, when I took sannyas, I had to ask you, how do you tie this doting thing? It's really hard. Do you roll it? Or do you put the knot in it? It keeps falling off,
You asked me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'm surprised I could answer that. Because if I would have been truthful, I'd say, that's a good question. Maybe we should ask Aranya Maharaj. Of course, he wasn't Aranya Maharaj, and he was Krishna Sharan.
yeah.
Could have asked somebody. Yeah. Anyway, we were in memory collecting potatoes. That I remember. And then we brought them back. And then I remember also there I met Dinati Harapur. He's a skinny guy, and he came suddenly to help unload a truck full of potatoes, and each one, I don't know how many kilos each bag of potatoes weighs, but it weighs a good amount, and all the professional carriers who were Indians, they weren't big either, but they're all putting bags of potatoes on their head. They have these hooks, and they hook it, and then they put it on their head there.
So 25 kg normally.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's on their head.
Yeah.
And Dinati Hara is carrying that on his head too, and he's a Westerner, of course. I was impressed by that. Yeah, this little guy. I mean, it's not so little, but skinny guy. He can carry bags of potatoes on his head just like the pros. So, I mean, those days being with Srila Govinda Maharaj in the Math, I mean, everything I've ever experienced about India's, for me, has been nice. Of course, I've had, like anyone, I've had diseases and this and that, were at times where I was absolutely miserable. And like almost, I mean, when I first got there, I was so ill, and nobody said anything about any medicine or anything, and I thought, this must be the initiation. You come here, and either you die or you live, and that's the initiation. That's what I was thinking. But
Purification.
yes, like that. It was always very wonderful. But I also like everywhere I go, I'm more or less like that also. I like everywhere. Govinda Maharaj said I was careless, which he meant carefree, but he said careless. So, like everyone else, I have anxieties and tensions and all that, but then after a while I just say, forget about it. I don't want to, I don't want to think about this anymore. I think I'll just go outside where the sun is shining and it's nice. Something like that. Of course, I feel that little relation with sunlight, if I can get some energies from sunlight. We went to Ireland. That was sublime. It was really nice. Huh? The Irish people are very nice too. The English people are very nice. I wonder about the Americans, but 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 there's nice people there also. Just not all of them. But still, it's a nice place. Anyway, here I am back here. I don't know if I said anything, but when do you go to? When do you have arti?
When you finish speaking.
Oh, okay. Maybe Sri Dandi Maharaj, you would like to say something?
It was very nice to hear you talking there. Yes. On that point you mentioned Yukta Vairagya, it's very important, yeah. Yukta meaning, they generally translate it as qualified. Knowledge and detachment, qualified by devotion, it's connection to devotion. Everything can be offered in the service of devotion, as you said, like the minister doing obeisance for the queen of bhakti. So Bhakti Devi, if the heart is clean, she'll come and sit on the throne of the heart, like you said. Of course, she won't like to sit in an unclean place. So this is really our work, our service, cleaning the heart through service.
The whole thing is about our service connection.
That's right.
And the Yukta Vairagya will be in terms of how you can utilize everything in the service of the Lord. That will be the real Vairagya.
Yeah. People have different tendencies. Some person may have a strong tendency towards jnana, study, and someone else may be more to karma, physical activity. But as long as we know the relation, it's okay. We can keep it in the right way and not get carried away, as you said. Because
you seem to be able to do that. You go to Ireland, you get near to visit the devotees. A nice engagement. So does anyone have any questions? Do you have any questions, Lakshmi Kanti? Yes. Okay.
Maharaj, on Thursday when you were giving a class from Ireland, you were talking about how Mahaprabhu is in the mood of the servitor as Radharani. But then sometimes in his pastimes we see he acts in a completely different mood as the Lord. Sometimes he is saying, "Oh, I am the Supreme Lord," and he talks in different ways. And when he's very young in his sort of pastimes as a student, he has a very different mood, is it?
Well, a lot of that focus is also coming, showing that, a lot of that focus especially coming in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. You know, in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there you find especially that expression. And I cannot say why, but I will say that the Mahaprabhu in Navadip, he's Gaur Narayan.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that with Nityananda Prabhu and Vrindavan Das Thakur is a devotee of Nityananda Prabhu. So you got a special focus, which has, I think, more of that sense in it because it's coming through Nityananda's devotee. And Guru Maharaj talked about that we always hear about Trinada Pisuni Chena, humility, offering respect to others, and tolerance. Govinda Maharaj showed that, and it's of course Mahaprabhu's third Sikshastic verse. Trinada Pisuni Chena Tadawariva Sahishnana Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. Well, we've heard that Vrindavan Das Thakur expresses that after hearing about the divine mercy of Nityananda Prabhu and Mahaprabhu, you cannot accept that, then we kick you in your head. Which is a strong statement. You might say, well, where's the sense of humility, offering respect to others, and tolerance in that statement that we kick you in your head? And then, what is it? Was it Guru Maharaj or Srila Saraswati Thakur?
Saraswati Thakur.
Srila Saraswati Thakur said, this is a divine canal being opened by the mercy of, you can say, Vrindavan Das Thakur. He's not giving you a chance to, what's the word, lightly, casually take the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu and Mahaprabhu, right? I was with one, I'm trying to remember, I don't remember that, was with, the devotee, one devotee told me, his son is autistic. So he was at a table and somebody did or something towards him and they kicked that person underneath the table. Yeah. So it's just a child. Nobody is going to take. Then the person said, oh, your boy is very special. So it draws attention, certainly draws attention to the person. And, you know, sometimes you may have experience, those of you fathers and mothers and all that, who maybe your son does something out of the ordinary, which is to, you know, that if it were done by an adult, it wouldn't be tolerable, but it just shows some kind of, you know, like,
spirit in the child.
you know, belligerent, apparent belligerence, but it's done in childish nature towards somebody, and then they take interest in that, and they say, oh, your son kicked me, and then they say, oh, yeah, I'm so sorry that happened, but you have to understand he's really a very good boy, and this and that, and then they talk, and then, so out of the, done by the actions of the enthusiasm of the devotee, like Vrindavan Das Thakur, some special mercy will be drawn from the Lord. And also the person cannot take the thing very casually anymore. He's been told, oh, you're not accepting the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu and Mahaprabhu, then I'll kick you in the head. Then it makes him a little more conscious of the situation. So a special mercy is coming there. But apparently, you would think, oh, Trinada Pisudi. But what is humility? What is offering respect to others? And what is tolerance? We may not be able to always gauge that by our mundane senses. So in the same way, Nityananda Prabhu's devotee, Vrindavan Das, he may express something and it may have a little bit more of that Vaikuntha, I was going to say Vaikuntha mood. I wound up saying Vaikuntha Vritti, which is an unlimited mood of Vaikuntha, which Guru Maharaj said we have to have that vision. But in this sense, maybe Vrindavan Das Thakur, he expresses things a little differently. I mean, you hear so many times in the Chaitanya Bhagavat where it's said that Mahaprabhu reveals himself, but he says, but if you say this, if you say it to anyone, then you'll be burnt alive. A ray of lightning will come and just toast you. I mean, it's not said like that, but it is said like, you can't reveal this to anybody. But that's in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. I don't hear that so much in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that you cannot express this to anyone. I'm revealing my divinity to you, but do not express this to anyone. Maybe it will say, if you talk about this to others, people will think that you're a madman, or that I'm a, what is it that Mahaprabhu said? He said, I'm a madman and you're a madman, so I'm expressing this to you. And that was when he's talking with Sanatana Goswami. He says, but generally speaking, a little different tone is there in Chaitanya Bhagavat. So there we find, but that's also coming in Chaitanya Charitamrita. I'm not saying it's exclusive to Chaitanya Bhagavat. But we're always singing Gaurarti in the evening, and there's Mahaprabhu revealing himself for this. What is it, Mahaprakash? No. Yeah, Mahaprakash. He's revealing himself on the altar of Srinivasacharya, showing himself as the Supreme Lord. So that's there. Sometimes he's showing that, and sometimes, but he is, after all, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Radha Krishna Nahiyanya. He is both Krishna and covered with the mood and sentiments of Srimati Radharani. But if you read Prapana Jivanamrita, there you'll find that Mahaprabhu's expressions are those of the devotee. They're the expressions of the Acharya. Sometimes they're the expressions also of Srimati Radharani. But they're not included in the expressions of the Supreme Lord. It's expressions of the Lord's devotee.
One little question. Can you explain the position of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya before he met Mahaprabhu? What is his position?
Before he met Mahaprabhu,
Yes, so he said.
well, we find him speaking in personalist philosophy. Then he meets Mahaprabhu, but Mahaprabhu, after he goes to South India, comes back and he says, I have just been to South India, which is the place of our acharyas. Pardon me, but I always remember one kind of slogan that Guru Maharaj said. He said, Purbir neye paschimir meye uttarer kata dakiner mata. Said, in the east, which you can think of Bangladesh or something, in the east you'll get a good boatman, Purbir neye, paschimir meye. In the west, you'll get a good wife. Good. Purbir neye, paschimir meye, uttarer kata. In the north you'll get good, so we think of the west maybe somebody can get a good wife in Bollywood, I don't know. At least in a Bollywood movie. Paschimir made Uttarakota. And Uttarakota is, in the north you'll get good language. Place of Badrinath, the place of, what is it? Vyasadeva. And Dakinar Mata. In the south, you'll get good brain. People are in, the Charyas, mostly the Charyas came from the south, right?
Yep.
Vishnu Swami, Nimbarkacharya, Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, Shankaracharya, they're all from the south. So get good brain. So Mahaprabhu had just been to the place of the Acharyas, or in the south, where people have good brain. He said, I have just come back from the south, but I didn't meet anybody as good as you, Sarvabhauma, with the exception of Ramananda Roy. He was very special. But Guru Maharaj said that Mahaprabhu was complimenting his own creation. That Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is Mahaprabhu's own creation. But he's such a nice creation that after he was converted by Mahaprabhu, he became wholesale fanatic. To the point that when he heard that in one verse from the Bhagavatam that Krishna is called Muktipad, and then he wanted to change the Bhagavatam and change it to Bhaktipad. And then Mahaprabhu said, well, why? I can also get that same reading from Muktipad, but he said, yes, but still we don't like that word mukti. It reminds us of this impersonalist moksha, which is so horrendous for a devotee. But he was of that mind. But then he got to the point where he hated the conception of mukti or moksha. So that's how much of a fanatic he became after being converted by Mahaprabhu. He became a complete fanatic.
Yes, I don't know if I listened or I read it, that when Gopinath Acharya was preaching to him that he didn't accept that Mahaprabhu was the Lord, it says somewhere that he was called Bhattacharya because he was an Acharya maker. He was the one that creates the other.
Yeah, well, he said that to Mahaprabhu. He said, you're in the Bharati Sampradaya. Oh, that's such a common Sampradaya. I can elevate you into the Saraswat Sampradaya. He said that to Mahaprabhu. But Mahaprabhu didn't, so to speak, wasn't very interested in that. Wasn't interested in being elevated to another higher form of sannyas.
Well, I came to that subject because as well as Sarvabhauma Acharya was a Acharya maker, now yourself you are a Acharya maker also. Now you are a Acharya maker because you and Asha Maharaj just create our new Acharya. And I give you thanks for that because we have an Acharya for the future, for the next generation of this world.
No, that's wrong. I feel it's wrong because, we were saying that now everybody in India is making India like a guru emporium. You can go shopping for gurus or so. Everybody is coming forward to nominate themselves. And I mean that literally. Nominate themselves as guru. So then we were thinking, something has to be done. And what is that something? Well, for my vision, the person who should become the successor of Acharya Maharaj should be his disciple. That's always the way I'm told that it works. And if you say, well, as some people, I'll use the word lightly, or some people have said, well, he's too much of a baby, he's too young. Oh, by whose estimation? By your estimation, your self-interested estimation. But for instance, Jayapataka Swami, he became a guru at a younger age, less time in the mission, and nobody's saying he's unqualified. He was a very good servitor in ISKCON. He became Acharya when he was 29 or 28. Nirya Maharaj turned 31 on Nisringa Chaturdasi. So, since we're all fasting, we thought it'd be a good idea to celebrate his appearance day the next day when we weren't fasting. Then we could have a nice celebration. But they did do a Vyas Puja for him on Nisringa Chaturdasi. But I mean, we weren't an Acharya maker. The devotees before, they told me that they would establish Niriya Maharaj as the leader. So then I said, well, they said, when are you going to do? Then Vishnu Maharaj said, when are you going to do something here in India? And I said, well, I thought you were supposed to do it. Well, we couldn't because Niriya Maharaj is living in Nishingapali and there's too much annoyance there in Nishingapali going on. So I said, do it somewhere else. Establish him somewhere else. Where? Mayapur, they said. I said, no. What temples did Acharya Maharaj make? Uluberia, also in Tarikeshwar, Nishingapali, Ganganagar, so many, Gangasagar, so many places. I think that's what Govinda Maharaj meant. I'm not going to get into that when he changed somebody's name. I'm not going to get into that stories. But all right, then I said, where's the best place? Oh, Tarikeshwar. And Tarikeshwar is really a beautiful temple. It makes me, by visiting that temple, it makes me feel that in India, you could build the most beautiful temple, I'll put it as a guess, under $300,000, you could build a beautiful temple. You can't do that in London. You can't do that in California. But that's a temple, has beautiful deities, beautiful altar, I think 20 rooms or something. Upstairs, downstairs, marble floors, and marble and granite also. It's a very beautiful place, very beautiful temple. So then, okay, what about in Tarikeshwar? I said, yes, Tarikeshwar. So he said, when's a good day? I said, well, today's Ram Navami, today's a good day. They said, well, they laughed and they said, what, can you give us a date? And then I said, okay, Akshaya Tritiya. And they said, oh, that's a good day. All right. Then Akshaya Tritiya and Tarikeshwar. And then they said, well, can you be there? And I said, and that was when it came up, can you be there? They said, can you be there? I wasn't thinking about that. They said, can you be there? And then I said, yeah, why not? That was my answer. Yeah, why not? Yes, why not? Can be there. All right. And I thought, and I'll bring Ashram Maharaj with me. So, but it was the devotees who decided that. They said, well, when are they going to do something, more or less? And I said, I thought that's up to you. You're supposed to do it. So it was just a conversation.
And you gave the name to the deities also, where is
Huh?
that in Betul? The name of the deities that they asked for you.
The names of the deity in Tarkeshwar?
No, where was which temple it was? That same
Uluberi.
day, that same day, in Uluberi.
Yeah, but they just said, what name for the deities? I mean, just said, okay, Shishi, Guru, Gauranga, Radha, Vrindavan, Chandra. I mean, maybe let's see. I mean, I said that because it just happened to come to mind.
Quick inspiration.
Huh?
Quick inspiration descended there.
What's that?
A quick inspiration descended.
Yeah, something. Power of suggestion, I don't know. So anyway, we went to India, and I had no idea what's going to happen. At first I thought, maybe the opposition's going to come and they're going to just bring people, they're going to pay gundas to come and they're going to just bang in all our heads or something. I didn't know what's going to happen. So I went there and then I thought, well, that's not going to be a problem because even if they bring in gundas, still we can go up, the next day we can go upstairs with our limbs bandaged up and we can do the ceremony upstairs. It doesn't matter what they can't stop us. I was thinking they can't stop us. So, but there was no opposition, there was nothing. That was one of the nice things about being in Tarkeshwar. Tarkeshwar's community is all, they're all very enthusiastic. And then through, what is it, Nimai Chandra, he was staying at the temple in Surabhikunj, temple of there. There's one sannyasi there, Acharya Maharaj, in Surabhikunj. I went there, stayed for a little while, a few days. Very beautiful cooking, just simple.
Which place is that?
Right in Surabhikunj, near the house of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. And what's the name of that island? Godrumadvi. Godrumadvi, yes. And so then Nimai Chandra arranged for about 40 sannyasis to come to Tarkeshwar, a 2-hour drive in that day, heavy rain in Navadip, and still they all came. And when they came, I mean, these are all the senior people of the Gaudiya Math, of all of Navadip and Mayapur and, places of the Gaudiya Math. In Navadip, Mayapur, all those places there, they drove 2 hours for the ceremony. It was also interesting, along with them also came, do you remember Dayal Nitai? He used to be here. Is his name Dayal Nitai?
Yeah.
Dayal Nitai. He used to be Sagar Maharaj's servant here. Sagar Maharaj brought him as a servant. He's Bengali. He described being in London to me. He said, his words were, he said, all the clouds are thinking, now I have found my home. That's it. But he showed up there as a sannyasi. You know him. I only tell you, now I forget his sannyas name. But he showed up there. But all these sannyasis from Navadip and Mayapur, many of them knew Nirya Maharaj because he's been serving Acharya Maharaj for some time. Some did, but all of them were very favorably inclined towards Acharya Maharaj, because they've always seen Acharya Maharaj as the person chosen by Govinda Maharaj. They never were distracted by any other thing. They only saw Acharya Maharaj as the head of the mission. And they came there to give blessings to Acharya Maharaj's successor, Nirya Maharaj. And they also saw him. In their vision, they were giving blessings as the head of the mission. I mean, that was their vision. And myself, when all these persons came there, big time sannyasis, I mean big time, a little bit. Like, I actually felt in awe. All these sannyasis, like there was a ton of sannyasis there. There was like 40 sannyasis there. I was like, and then all this happened just like that, out of nowhere. And not only that, we're in Tarakeshwar, which is, when you come back from Navadip, when we came back from Navadip to Tarakeshwar, the last 15 kilometers takes you well over an hour. It's like an unimaginable road. So, and all these persons were there. And there were 800 people in the temple. And everybody was very, very enthusiastic. And I felt like the whole program was divine. It was very divine. It was wonderful. So I didn't imagine that when I went there. I just thought, we're going to do this. It's going to happen. And then people said, oh, we're so happy that the Acharya board made this decision. Acharya board? What Acharya board? What decision did they make? I talked to Avadut Maharaj. He was happy. He said yes. He said yes, establish Nirya Maharaj as the successor of Acharya Maharaj. He was happy with that decision. So he's on the Acharya board, but we never discussed it with the Acharya board. But still, who cares? Nirya Maharaj is the successor of Acharya Maharaj. He's his disciple, so,
So you felt, even though there may have been some question or different questions, in the moment there was some divine dispensation that it happened.
Yeah, I felt like there was divine dispensation that it happened. I didn't make any of these plans. I just happened to, I don't know, if at best, you can say in chemistry, there's a thing called a catalyst. And the catalyst has to be present for the reaction to happen. But the catalyst itself doesn't really directly take part in the reaction. It's just there, and it facilitates the reaction taking place. In some ways, maybe we're also a catalyst, but all of a sudden, there are all these big sannyasis and so many persons, and the whole thing is like going in a very super enthusiastic way. So I was very happy, and I'm still happy about that. Yeah, and if anybody expresses anything like unsureness or anything, just allow things to happen. They'll just progress. They'll just progress positively. It'll go on that way. But at least I could think from the very beginning, in my mind, this will establish some order out of the chaos that existed in India. Just a chaotic thing. And already I've received some letters. This is fake news. All right, it's fake for you. Who cares? Who cares? Like Prabhupada used to say, the dogs may bark, but the parade goes on. Something to that expression. So I don't care if there's barking dogs. I don't care about barking dogs. You know, so that's what happened. It wasn't a question of acharya maker or anything. You don't. I mean, he was, you know, Acharya Maharaj's dear servitor. And Acharya Maharaj expressed that in the future, I hope to be able to train him to be my successor. Somebody can say, well, Acharya Maharaj never said he was his successor, or he may not have been named as Acharya Maharaj's successor. Maybe not. But who else are you going to think? If he's been serving him for some time, and he was distinguished in his service, and Acharya Maharaj wanted to train him as his successor, then who else are you going to think of as being a successor? Maybe Acharya Maharaj didn't choose him, but Acharya Maharaj also passed away very suddenly. So then I'm thinking, this was the best arrangement. And best arrangement, in my mind, as you're saying, turned out to be we got some divine dispensation there. It's like, you know, what does Guru Maharaj say? Om. Om is a positive yes. What you're looking for, it exists. So I felt like we were doing something, and all of a sudden we got a very positive yes. This is good. What's coming down is good. So to me that's, you know, if the whole walls would have cracked and then, you know, burning embers came down raining upon us, then I might think something different. But, you know, everything happened very beautifully, very wonderfully, very nicely. And then that was on May 3rd, and then on the 15th was Nisringa Chaturdasi. But we didn't go to Nisringapali, we celebrated it there in Tarakeshwar, and then almost a day or so before, Nirya Maharaj told me, well, I was born on this particular date in 1991, which was Nisringa Chaturdasi, he told me. And I looked on astrological thing, calculated thing, and yes, it's Nisringa. He appeared on the day of Nisringa Chaturdasi, which was, you know. So we're already there in Tarakeshwar. It's Nisringa Chaturdasi. Okay, it's a good day to celebrate too. And then the next day was Buddha Purnima. Buddha Purnima. Krishna Fulla Dole and Sharira Bihar or something like that. I don't know what all that is, but they do take Krishna out on a boat on that day. At least ISKCON does. I don't know what the whole ceremony is about. And then it's also Srinivasacharya's, what is it? Disappearance or appearance? I don't know.
Appearance, I think.
Huh?
I think it's appearance.
Appearance. And disappearance of I don't remember, but should remember by now. It was a good day. It was Purnima. Had a celebration on Purnima for his appearance day. That also seemed good. If you have a celebration on Purnima, it's the day after Nisringa Chaturdasi, that also seems to be good. Seemed to mean it's all very nice. So, okay, any other question? I think we're finished. We're supposed to have Arti now. So, okay. Ready? No more questions, right? Questions, dragged out the answers. Oh.
It's good because it's loud and makes it nice and loud.
Yeah, but it's Mama set it up and they're wrong. Yeah. I didn't even know there was a right way or wrong How are you? From Dublin? Oh! And then we were in Limerick. Yeah, exactly. Another couple of years should be much go on. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda
Bharti ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramanta Paramajapacharya Stadhara Sadha Shri Shrimad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramanta Paramajapacharya Stadhara Sadha Shri Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramanta Paramajapacharya Stadhara Sadha Shri Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakshira Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Thakur ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj ki jai. Rupananda Guru Maharaj ki jai. Brahmachari Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Sanatana Bhatta Raganashi Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raganash Satyo Swami Prabhu Vijay Krishna Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasti Shri Gaura Bhaktarani Vijay Vishpa Parenya Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Tila Neri Maharaj ki jai. Anandi Koti Vaishnava ki jai. Navadip Dham ki jai. Mayapur ki jai. Parshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Parshada Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Sri Goladvita ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. London Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Ganga Devi ki jai. Tulasi Maharani ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Shri Damadam ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Goga Govindan Shyam Radha Govinda Govinda Jai Shri Purushottam Madam Ki Jai Baladev Subhadra Karna Ki Jai Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Sringadev Ki Jai Prabhupada Shri Prahlad Maharaj Ki Jai Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai all the assembled devotees Ki Jai Gaur Premanande. Jai Shri Devashish Prabhu Ki Jai.
Looks great in his hat, isn't it? So he's going to a party or something.
Yes.
A wedding. It looks like he's going to a wedding.
What?
Mahaprabhu's hat. Yeah. Amazing. It's like he's going to a wedding party.
But is it like new?
David Anderson. I love how your jumper is the same colour as your phone. Nice and bright.
I feel like Rashmika was matching Mahaprabhu's Monday.
Wow.
The whole thing is like...
Everything is Krishna's arrangement, even when we don't know it.